they would go to bed and they would get their rest. And while they were resting, I could use that time to do a little bit of house cleaning, do a little bit of laundry, wind down, have a glass of wine. I don't know about you, but I needed that glass of wine. Or just to relax and watch a movie without having to watch a kid's movie or whatever. I wanted to just be an adult for a little while, and that was my time to be an adult. So, and then during the holidays, we always had story time where we would tell a little story, and I would talk about the things of Christmas, and I would tell them about, baby Jesus, and I would tell them about the angels, and I would tell them about, the stories of the Bible. And we loved watching the stories of the Bible that used to come on TV. Now, I don't know if they still show those types of programs on TV. I know, and I can't remember the one that I'm thinking of, the one with Yul Brynner and Charlton Heston. And it was where, Charlton Heston played Moses and he parted the Red Sea. I cannot remember the name of that movie, but it was a Bible story and it was wonderful. And I loved watching that movie, and we would watch that. And of course, we'd watch all the cartoon movies that would come on, and I would pop popcorn, and we would have just junk food nights, and we would just kind of veg out in front of the TV, especially on weekends, and just really enjoy the holidays with each other. And it was so much fun. And I would give my kids assignments. Like they had to, on Saturdays, they would have to, on Sundays after church, they would have to read a book, and they would have to tell me what they read. And, during the holidays, we tried to make it books like Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer and Frosty the Snowman, those kind of books. And we tried to watch those movies that, engaged them and made them laugh and made it funny. And I'm thinking of one movie in particular, and it was called A Christmas Story. You probably know the one with the little kid and his Red Ryder BB gun. Oh my goodness, that rifle. And the part where he goes, "You'll shoot your eye out, kid." That was my favorite. I love that. And the bumpkins. And how the dogs from the neighbors, the bumpkins, would come over and steal the turkey, and they ended up going to the Chinese restaurant and having Thanksgiving dinner or Christmas dinner or whatever. And just listening to all the camaraderie that was going on in the movie, those were some fun times. So, growing up myself and raising my children, I've noticed that times are changing. Now, you don't have a whole lot of kids that are sitting around hanging out with their parents. Most of the time, and I can even see this in my own family, the kids are in their room by themselves, watching TV, watching, whatever movie or cartoon they want to watch. There's no family connection. And I fuss at my girls and my son all the time about having that family connection. But it's not just my family. I know that. I know that there are other families out there that are seeing the decline in family gatherings during this time of year. Most families, I'm not even going to say most, because I don't have any statistics to back that up. I'm going to say a lot of families that I've heard, and of the people that I've talked to, I'll put it that way. The people that I've talked to, the people that I've seen on Facebook, the ones that I've engaged with, they all pretty much say the same thing. And what happens is the kids end up, they're either going out and hanging out with their friends, or they are in their room, on their computer, or on their video games, or they're watching TV, but they may not be watching Christmas movies. There's no real family togetherness like there used to be. We would all be in the room, and if we were wrapping presents for family members outside of the home, we'd all sit in the room together and help each other wrap presents. And even if we were wrapping them individually, it was a specific time of evening. I remember my kids coming and knocking on my door because I was in there wrapping presents, and they go, "Mom, you got the scissors?" or "Mom, can I have some tape? I'm out of tape." Or "Who's got the wrapping paper?" Those kinds of yelling back and forth from room to room because you're in your own place wrapping gifts, but it was a family connection because we were doing it at the same time. The only time it was any different was when there was when they were in the bed and I was trying to wrap their gifts without them knowing it. Okay, so that's usually the only difference. But anymore, you don't have that. My kids, we all would sit at the dinner table together and have dinner and have conversation. And, there would be times when we would have the family meeting. My kids hated the family meeting. They hated the family meeting. You know what the family meeting is. That's a time when one or more have done something wrong, and it was time to have a meeting. And I called it a come to Jesus meeting. That was our big family meeting. And we would all gather in the living room, and they'd have to sit there and listen to me talk for about an hour or more. It was so funny because I could see them sitting there getting so sleepy, and they would be nodding off in the middle of my talking, and I would just keep talking. And then I would go, because they were in trouble, I'd go, "Oh no, you're not going to go to sleep. You're going to have to listen to this." And they would wake up and listen to it. And of course, that was torture to them. It was more torture for them having to listen to my speeches about what they did wrong and how they did it, or what they should have done that they didn't do, than it was for them to get a spanking or get sent to the corner or go sit in their room. That would have been enjoyable for them more than me just giving them the speech. But I remember those times, and it's so funny because now when I hear them talk about growing up, that is hilarious to them. They remember those times when they had to listen to the talk, and to them now it's funny. Now you have to remember, my kids are in their 30s now. My babies, the twins, they're in their 30s now. So thinking back when they were like, 7, 8, 9, and or so on, and looking at what they went through growing up as far as, listening to me give them chastisement because they did something wrong, rather than getting a spanking or whatever. That's just hilarious to them. Now, I know that every family has their own specific traditions as far as when it comes to Christmas and kids, and that even to the different foods that you eat. Like in my family, of course, we grew up in the South. So you have the traditional turkey and ham, and then you also had chitlins. And chitlins, I don't know if you know what they are, but they are hog intestine or pig guts. And it was a dish that was brought about way back in slave times when, the people that worked the fields, they got the leftovers, and the people that owned the plantations and that kind of thing, they got the best cuts of the meat, and they gave the farm workers and the field hands everything else. But now, fast forward hundreds of years, it's become almost a delicacy, depending on where you are in the country. It's a delicacy. And so we've just been eating them all of our lives. Now, I can tell you, my twins hate them. They absolutely hate them. But my oldest daughter, she loves them. And so, we cook those up at Christmas holidays, along with the turkey and the ham. And we have, of course, all the sides. We have the candied yams, and we have the broccoli casserole and the green bean casserole and the mixed greens or the collard greens. And we have the potato salad and the deviled eggs. And then we have the macaroni and cheese, and we have the mashed potatoes and gravy. And yes, we have all of these sides all at one time, because somebody might not want one thing. And we also have the corn on the cob and the sweet baby carrots. And it's kind of like a buffet at our house, because inevitably, just flashing back to when I was young, we used to do the same thing when my mom was cooking, and my sisters and I were growing up together. Mom would do the same thing. She'd cook all this food, and then my mom used to cook in a restaurant. And so a lot of times her customers, because they knew where she lived, they would come by. And my mother, where we lived, we were part of what used to be called the Chitlin Circuit. And so she would fix those chitlins along with everything else. And people would come by. And it was whoever was in the neighborhood or whoever came by, Mom fed them. And my house has always been the same way. I would cook these big meals, and whoever stopped by, you got a plate. We didn't care who you were. And my kids, they were so excited and so helpful that when we did have strangers come by, we would tell them, hey, go fix this person a plate and put it in a to-go box so they could take it with them when they went. And so it created this wonderful feeling of family and togetherness and giving back all at the same time. And so now, we don't do it as much because, of course, we all live in our own little condos. Hopefully that will change here in the next year. I plan on buying a house or building a house. I'm not sure which yet. But I miss those times, and I want to get back to it. And I know that my girls, because we've all discussed this, they miss it too. And my son has... he has called several times and talked about how much he missed all of our get-togethers and what we used to do. And so I'm saying all of this because I know you guys out there have some wonderful traditions that maybe you used to do, but you don't practice anymore. And so, especially during this time of year, it's a great time to bring those traditions back. Get those family members away from the TV and away from the games, and invite them in along with their friends to do some fun things. I remember one year my nephew and my son, they did these little skits. Everybody had these little skits that they would do. And we would pull names out of a hat, and two people, we'd pull my son's name, it was just random, but it happened to be my son and my nephew. And they went off to create their little skit and get it ready. And we would just put on these little shows for everybody. And it was wonderful. And I just